Hello everybody and welcome to the November 2024 update from Clydebridge Station. This month we're going to be doing some work on a retaining wall, and you'll find out in a little while why I've said that, and I'm hoping to build something else in this update, but more about that later on. As usual, there'll be the regular shout outs to some layouts and some other people, and in addition to all of that, of course, there'll be links to some of the products that I've used. The regular shout outs that I always do at the start are to Dean Park Station and Everard Junction, which you'll find here on YouTube, and to my good friends at the clothing company Wrangler. Wrangler.com in your appropriate territory will take you to their website. I'm a proud partner, as is this layout, of Wrangler, so please check them out as well. One other thing just to point out this month is that there'll be a couple of running shots of trains, and and also there'll be a little preview of the Cupar Model Railway Club Christmas show taking place at the Corn Exchange. I'll have more details on that towards the end of the video. So, with all of that out of the way, all aboard and enjoy the programme, and any comments, queries or suggestions, please leave them in the comments box below. And thank you for watching in advance. Before I carry on, just a reminder to you that if you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell notification so you can be notified of any new videos on the channel. There's at least one per calendar month. Let's face it, this is rather crap, this retaining wall that I built. And you'll have seen that there's all bits missing, so I should give you a clue to something. We're going to rebuild this wall this month. Now, the reason for the rebuild taking place is actually all because of an error that I made, and it concerns the ordering of some brick paper from Scale Model Scenery. Now, the paper that I should have ordered, and I'm just going to get a piece out there now for you, should have been the light brown brick stretcher bond. I didn't order that. I actually went and ordered by mistake English bond red brick. 2 packs of it. It's not going to waste. Instead of finishing off the station side retaining wall in this update, which I admit does need doing, because the brick colour would look very different, we're going to actually use this stuff to rebuild the retaining wall, along with some other pieces that I've got. I've ordered some grey board as well, and I've got some more coping stones to put on there. So this is what this gap is all about. Now I'll need to take these pins out, because I have to pin this wall on here, incredibly enough, and then I'll get new stuff put in. One thing I will point out to you right now is it's going to be to the same design as the retaining wall that you see over here on the station side, since you can see there right now. One other interesting thing to mention though to you is that the retaining wall is going to have to come down a little bit. That's the height of it, but the retaining wall will be sitting in the concrete here, so it's actually going to be a bit lower. Now the way to get, and I can't really exactly stretch it over, well, I suppose I could, but it would just get kicked in, especially here, you see. Right there. So that's the only way I can do it, is to actually have this down lower. What will happen is that the first section of retaining wall will go from here and will come down a bit to here. And these pieces, they'll actually cover the joints where the pins are. So the actual brick sheet will go on first, and then pinned into position. The next bit will go on, pinned into position, and this will be going on. to cover it, and it'll be glued on with Yoo-Hoo glue. As already mentioned, links to the stuff that I'll be using from SMS will be in the description below, and I'm not going to rush this. That's why I'm only going to be doing this and one other thing this month, and I'll hopefully talk you through that later on. One last thing before I get underway, tools that you'll need. Well, you'll certainly need a craft knife, a cutting mat. You'll also probably, well, I'll certainly for this job also need pins. I've got some there in fact, and you may well actually need different adhesives. I'm going to be using Yoo-Hoo glue and also laser cut kit glue later on. And if we're going to be doing the coping stones in this update, we'll actually need some grey primer or grey paint. The likes of that grey paint is readily available from various shops. But if I could just make the point right now that some of the stuff that I'm using cannot be sold to anybody under the age of 16. I must make that very clear right now. I've moved the water tower out the road, and I've moved the ladder for it out the road so I can get in here and start work on here. My first job is to therefore get some of the old pins out so I can get the first piece of grey board cut and then get the pins put back in. Before I start doing that, a quick shout out and a mention to the Railway Modelers Club. There's two different levels of subscription, annual subscription, a standard one and a first class one. I'm a standard member. Full details of that are actually on the Scale Model Scenery website. It's far too complex for me to go into it here and goes beyond the scope of this programme. Right, time for me to go and start making some walling. That's how it's looking so far. And obviously you could see what I've done up here. I've not got the light on. When I was removing some of this, I've actually pulled one of these off. That's it there, and I'll get that fixed towards the end. Now how I'm going to do this is, rather than just put these all in, all the panels in, and then do the decoration, I'm going to do the decoration as I go, and then we'll get the coping stone on. Now, as already mentioned in the last video, I found some coping stones, but I've actually ordered another pack which came with the Scale Model Scenery stuff. So if I just put the camera there for a minute, and I think the way that I'll do this is I'll add the coping stone as I go, and it'll be sprayed grey, so that'll go on at the end there, and that looks pretty level at the moment. Obviously it'll have to be sprayed grey. The other thing I'll need to do is actually put little bits on the other side there, so it'll hold the coping stone up, and I'll get them done. Now they don't need to be too big, but I'll get them done as well, so I'll put a bit of coping stone there the now. But you can, if I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but I'll need the support bit in there, and that way the coping stone will hold on. So that's what we're going to be doing there. Just a quick shout out to Dudley Central, a model railway layout you'll find here on YouTube. So if you could give him a check out, please. He's also on Instagram and Facebook. And what I'm going to do now is get the decoration cut for the first bit there, and then get the other side of the parapets in. We'll get a look at it then, and then if it's all good to go, we'll get the next panel cut and put into position, get the support pillar down, and then I could actually add this first piece of coping. These are the templates that I made for the retaining wall on the station side, and because the retaining wall on the depot side is going to be to the same design, it makes sense just to use these templates as well. This is going to be the upright, which will be like that. The first piece, however, that's actually going to be on a diagonal. The reason being that there is a slope going up, so I'll have to cut a diagonal piece out. I've actually got some grey board there that I can do it with, and then cut it to the right size, then make a piece for the bottom, which doesn't need to be diagonal. Then following on from that, I can actually get the upright parts in, the small upright parts in, and then get the middle part in. The rest of them should be easier because they'll all be straight. It's just the first one that's a bit complex, and they'll be getting wrapped, of course, in the same brick paper. And if I just get the camera zoomed in a minute, I don't know how well the camera picks it up. There we have the brick line along the bottom there, which I'll be using again to wrap for the bottom wraps. I'll be using Yoo-hoo glue for this, and I'll be taking my time with it as well. Once I've got the first couple of bits done and got them all glued on, I'll let you have a look at what it's starting to look like. I know I'm not going to get it all done in this video, so some of it you'll see in the December update. That's simply because of the resources that I've got at the moment will not be enough to do the whole wall, I know that, but at least we can get a good section of the wall done. I'll admit the lighting isn't exactly perfect here, but I'll be able to get a good start made here on the new retaining wall. When I put the uprights in for here and here to cover the pins, which you can just see there, once I put the second upright in, I actually put the decoration in for this panel because it would then give me the right height for this first panel due to the fact that there's a small incline. So that's been done, and I've also got the coping stones on. And one of the uprights from the old wall, I've been cutting that so it can be used as part of the upright for the street scene side of the wall. I've just test fitted another piece of the coping and it's absolutely fine on here. So my main aim now is just to simply get this next panel done. I'll put the fourth panel into place and then get the coping stone on and then get the upright on. There is quite a length to do and I'm not going to get it all done in this video. What I'm going to actually do though is I'll make an effort to maybe get up to perhaps the end of here, maybe say the end of here, and then I'll stop for a breather and we'll build something else. I need to just crack on with that. Just also, while I remember, check out Daisy Lane TMD on Instagram. It's set in East Anglia in the 80s and 90s. And check out on YouTube Cheeky Tech. Hisley set in the Network South East era, although there's a bit of London Underground influence in it as well. That's 5 complete panels done now. And you can see there I've got the coping on the top, 3 bits of coping. It has a little bit of a drop there, but not too much that you couldn't notice it. Where my dad's memorial is, I haven't been able to put a piece of upright on the other side there. The fence wouldn't fit in. So obviously there's a small piece of upright there, there, there and there. But I'm making sure everything's level and there's no areas where there's going to be big gaps and drops. And it's not something I'll be finishing in this update. I'll do a bit more in the update later on. But if I stand back, you can just see there what it's like. I've not got the light on, but I've got the door open. Quick shout out to Brian, who runs Finnerton Central. You'll find Finnerton Central both here on YouTube and on Facebook, so please give him a check out. Right, we'll take a break from this. I'll come back to it later on. In the meantime, let's build something else. When I said I'm going to build something else, it was going to be that there, the Scale Scenes Double Wash Plant kit. And you can see that I've made some progress on it. But there are quite a few issues, as you can see, with it as well. This was free with the magazine. The cardboard is stuck a bit, it's warped a bit and it's not sticking properly. I've went and test fitted it, and whilst the rolling stock is going through it okay, I've actually noticed as well that it sits right next to the retaining wall, which is unrealistic. So what I've decided to do is jettison this, get rid of it. It's not going to fit on the layout at all. It hasn't cost me anything extra really when you think about it, but sadly this is not going to be any good on the layout. It's a noble experiment that I've tried here, but it's an unsuccessful one. We live and learn, but I will be able to finish off the retaining wall. And that's what we're going to do next, is get the retaining wall finished. Well, get as much as I can done with it, rather. So as I say, it goes down to a bad experience, but as I say, I was also thinking about getting the Bachmann one put in, but having tried this and looking at the size of them, you know something, with it only being carriage sidings and not an actual proper maintenance depot, I don't really think I need a carriage wash. So yeah, we'll leave the carriage wash, and as I say, it's a nice enough kit, but unfortunately it's just the wrong thing for my layout. So there we go, that was from Scale Scenes. At the time of filming it wasn't on their website, but hopefully this will actually end up on their website so you can have a go at them yourselves. But as I say, it's a bad experience. But I'm not disappointed in it, because it was only one way I was going to find out if it was going to be suitable, and that was to try it. But these things happen. But at least I've got a retaining wall to build. There's a bit more progress you can see on the retaining wall, but this is where we had a slight problem. I'll put the camera down here, because there's obviously a bit of a bend here, and you can see here I've not been able to get that to glue, so that's likely going to be a, how can I put it, well, a Loctite job, let's put it that way. I think it'll be a Loctite job to get that sorted. So that's some, I've tried laser cut kit glue, I've tried UU, and on both occasions just sprung back away, so no, that can't be allowed to happen, so that will get done. Something I'm also getting unhappy about are these walkways here while we're actually talking about the depot areas, because if I turn the camera down like that, you can actually see the problem. It's all the joints have all wrinkled up, so that's going to be a job for next year. But yeah, clearly that's going to be a major job to do. I know that one other enthusiast was trying to build a retaining wall and had a similar problem at a bend, so it's clearly something that's not exclusive to me. But nevertheless, it's something that really needs to be sorted out before I can proceed any further. Before I can safely say this is actually completely done. I'm just going to lift the camera up here as well to show you what I've done with the connections tree, because previously it was sitting on a small plinth and a lot of it was hidden behind a wall. It's now sitting on a much higher plinth. So it's sitting not only proud, but it's sitting high of the wall, and it can actually be seen clearly. And if I do it like that, then you can actually get the idea there. So it can be seen clearly by everybody on the lower deck of the bus or walking along the street, not just those on the top deck of the bus. I'm going to crack on and finish as much as I can in this update and get on with it. So while I'm building the rest of this retaining wall, or certainly as much as I can, here's my preview of this year's Cupar Model Railway Club Christmas show. This year's Cupar Model Railway Club Christmas show takes place once again in the upper floor, that's the first floor of the Corn Exchange in Cupar, on Saturday the 14th of December from 10 AM until 4 PM. Now if you're actually wanting to go to this show, the admission is £3 for adults, kids go free, and I'm sorry, but big kids like me have to pay the entrance fee as well. The list that I've got here as to what's actually going to be there is subject to change, please note, but what we do know is that the layouts that are going to be there so far are Parsons Creek and Rossi, which are both N gauge. There's Thomas and the Micro Cement, which are both O gauge, double O gauge. There's a Hold Box Flat. There's also a Ben's G gauge layout. And whilst there might be more attending that show, it's not been confirmed yet. We've also got sales stands, and again, these are subject to change, and that includes Vision Design, North Road Trains, Billy Thompson Models and Scooney Hobbies. I do know that Scooney Hobbies are going to be at that show, by the way. I had that confirmed to me by the staff at Scooney Hobbies, so you all see them there. I believe there's also going to be a little cafe open as usual, and there's a sales stand for the Union of South Africa support crew. That's John Cameron's fine A4 Pacific locomotive, which is now getting preserved in a museum here in Fife. Cupar Corn Exchange is located right in the town centre, and it's about 10 minutes walk from the railway station, and it's served by the area is served by plentiful buses by both Stagecoach East Scotland and its sister company Muffet and Williamson. The show, as I say, is a one-day show. Please go along and give the show your support. I'll be there with my camcorder and filming it for the Clydebridge Station YouTube channel. So if you do happen to see me, come over and say hello. It'll be a privilege to meet you. If you aren't able to make the show, don't worry. As I said already, I'll be attending the show with my camcorder, so as well as attending the show for myself, I'll also be attending it on your behalf as well. We'll get back to building the retaining wall now, see how much further I can get. Right, you can just see a couple of little minor issues, so it's a very small one there. That's the super glue gone in there now, and you can see it's formed a little gel thing there. How I'm going to try and cover that is to make some sort of little bit of ivy that's growing up there. I can't think of anything else, but if you can, please let me know in the comments below. A small increase in the height here, but we can live with that. As you can see, that's the coping stones going along there. And I'm doing my level best to keep it level. As I say, just that small bit there. This gives you a good indication here of other problems that I've faced. This had come loose with the screws, so the nails have super glued that down. And I reckon I can get at least this and another 2 panels, so it will take me up to here for the wall. That's what my plan is, to get this done by the end of the video, which means I'll need to order more bits from SMS for the remaining part of the wall here. And then the wall itself will be completed in the December update, all being well, and you can just see how that's all coming off there. So I did make the right decision having to get new coping stones ordered. I've pinned this one on here because we've also got the support pillar for the street scene above. And just to take this one over a little bit, you'll notice it's a little bit crumpled at the bottom there. That's not a major problem because I'm going to have to cut. That's going to get covered up by vegetation and the bottom bits of these. But B, I need to trim a little bit off there. It's not by very much. And that'll make it level. Just stick that one there then now. But that's round about the area I'm hoping to get to by the end of the video. Also, these support pillars, they're getting easily made. I've got actually a couple of more of these base bits done already. So there's quite a lot there I can get made up with the resources I've actually currently got. One other problem you can see here is that the pins from the old boards need to get removed, but that's a simple job as well. Must make mention also, and you'll see here, the connections tree. Now previously it was on a small plinth that sat below the height of this wall, so it was obscured. I've now made a new plinth out of some of the scrap bits of grey board, and I've sprayed it with grey primer, same as I've done with the coping stones. It sits taller now, so it means that people in the street can actually see the tree a lot clearer, and it's visible in the videos clearer as well. That was a very simple job to spray it. It was not a simple job to actually get it built in the first place, but I've managed to achieve it, and it's glued down with Yoo-Hoo glue. Before I carry on and get the rest of this done up to this part here, which will be the end of the video for the November update, at the time that I filmed in this section, which is on the 2nd of November, quick shout out to Rugby Union commentator for TNT Sports and ITV Sport, and Nick Mullins. Nick's a well experienced Rugby Union commentator. He's at Murrayfield today as I speak, because he'll be commentating for TNT on Scotland versus Fiji International, and as he says, he is occupying Bill McLaren's seat today, the late great Bill McLaren, the voice of rugby. So that's where Nick is today. Another little small thing, just while I talk about it right now, and remember it right now actually, is that this is going to get replaced next year with a new version as part of the street scene upgrade. That'll be done over several videos, of course. Whilst it looks okay, and you can see here a bit's come off, it looks starting to get a bit flimsy, and it's all rough and round edges here. So, as I've already mentioned before on the Clydebridge Station Facebook page and on the Railway Modellers Club, it's going to be replaced by one based upon Truth nightclub in Leven. So it'll actually be new lettering, and it'll just be called Quadrant Park, one of Quadrant Park nightclub on it, and it'll have a completely different design. It's like the front of an old cinema. And what that also means is that if I'm left with any spares of these, once I do complete the wall, I can use some of the brick walling to make a side wall along here. So that's actually what my plan is, no side wall there too. That of course is well into 2025, but it does need replacing. I mean, it looks okay, but I mean, it can be better, and it's quite visible there where some of the problems lie. So it can be made better, it will be made better, it'll be a different design, and you'll see that in 2025, and along with a new build of radio rentals. Just other little things you can see just there, I'm using the older abutments, these uprights here, to put into here, so you've actually got the uprights on both sides still, and this provides the support for these coping stones as well. So I'm recycling some of this, and my plan is eventually to fill up even these gaps here with new vegetation, but that's again, I say, a long time away. I haven't made my mind up yet about this wall though. I suspect though that I'll keep the wall and the new road surface will just butt up to the existing wall and the existing curbstones. I don't know how well it picks up there. So that's what I think will actually end up happening. And you get a good view of the connections tree again. Links to all the stuff that I've used, of course, from Scale Model Scenery will be in the description below. And the primer is from Halfords. You can get grey paint from most shops such as Ryman, B&M, Home Bargains, Hobbycraft, Halfords. So you'll be able to shop around and find those. As I'm making progress, I think I might just be able to do this without having to order more paper. Tango X-Ray 198 Oscar from Scale Model Scenery. You can actually see what I've done with one of the support pillars here. I've used two short pieces from an offcut, glued them on, and from a distance it's very difficult to point out the join. So I can actually do that. I've actually already attached one there. I've got enough here to make a full length one. and then I can get at least 2 more bits. So I reckon I'm actually in a position where I'll be able to do the rest of this without requiring any subsequent orders from Scale Model Scenery for TX198 Oscar. One thing, however, I must make a mention of is at the very last panel, I think I'm going to have to leave the original one on for the simple reason it's going to be quite awkward to get that cut and get into shape. I'd have to make an extremely narrow looking panel, and that might look ridiculous. So I think what I've got there will actually do from the existing wall. You'll see that when I come to it. This is one of the 2 top pieces I'm making. I've got another one there, and I'll get another couple of pillars made up now. That'll let me see what I've got left in terms of getting the rest of it done, and I've got likes of these other offcuts to make uprights from. So it looks like I'm going to be able to do this with no problem whatsoever. And this is the last panel I'm referring to. It's going to have to sit in here. This will have to come off, and there'll probably be a need to a slight alteration to the height. Put that back on, but again that'll be altered in height, and then that will complete that there. One issue that will obviously arise is getting it properly attached onto here. It's only going to be a shorter panel though, so it shouldn't pose too much of a problem. But quite a lot of work I've actually done here, and obviously I've still got a bit to go. I've got 4 uprights still to put in because we're going to reuse this one. It's going to get. It's looking likely we'll have it finished by the end of this video, and obviously it's looking a bit more level than what it previously did. One issue, one problem that you will also encounter is making sure that you get the coping stones on straight. So they're kind of on straight there, and I'm just sticking them on with U-hook glue. What else to remember? I've got a little shout out for LNER, the train company. Now I don't have any LNER on the layout. I've also got 3 GWR liveried class 47s, but they recently done a challenge where they would travel from Durham up to Newcastle, and then they were going to the Fat Hippo restaurant in Jesmond in Newcastle. And there were 3 teams. One of them was going by car, one of them was going by bike, and the other team, which consisted of 3 people, they were taking the Tyne and Wear Metro to West Jesmond and then briskly walking along. I'll put the link in the top right hand corner for you. Now, who won that challenge? Well, it was the team that got there first. You'll have to go and watch it for yourself, folks. Anyway, enjoy that, and I'm going to crack on, get the rest of this done and get it all finished, and then that should bring us up to the end of this video. Here's the panel I was referring to, an alteration I've made to this upright. This is actually going to have to somehow get super glued onto that, so that will get done. Because of the narrow clearances here, a lot of this will be vegetation in the end. I've run the Mark 4 coats round to check that everything's fine now, and I'll do it again once all the panels uprights are on. And I've still got to put the remaining pieces on here so everything gets held together using the offcuts from the old wall. The wall itself is actually a hell of a lot better than the previous effort, and I think I'm just going to make it and no more with the brick sheets that I've got. That's quite remarkable. I had visions I was going to have to order more, but it looks like that won't be the case now. And if we actually pan over here, and you can see here from where we started to where we are now, Mum's memorial is still visible there, as is Dad's further along. The only thing I'm thinking about for here is obviously putting in a bit more vegetation. A couple of bits that you can see just here, for instance. So that's something that I'll look at doing in the future, but not right now. I need to get this wall finished. And there we have it, one retaining wall. A job that I originally hadn't planned to do in this update, but which needed doing, and I've now done it. And that's, you can see the difference between the TX198 Oscar Oscar and the Tango X-Ray 004 Oscar Oscar. That bit will stay on there to form a part for the tunnel. But that is it, virtually all done now. And I am very relieved and very pleased at that. It's a damn sight better than what the retaining wall that was here previously, with the different sized uprights and the jumpiness in coping stones. Just to show it to you along here, I had to cut up the last section of coping stones, but I've kept the spare set because that could get used somewhere else on the layout. So painted with Halfords grey primer, of course, as already mentioned. And there's the connections tree on its new plinth, sitting proud. So if I was to turn the camera like that, and just move the bus back and place it down there, and you can see it's still sitting proud above the wall there, so everybody can see it. I really like that. There you go, there's your retaining wall for the depot area. A couple of things that will need to be done, as I say, I'll get some vegetation, like a tree growing up there, and there's got to be vegetation put in around here. It has all been checked for clearances with a Mark IV coach, and it's working fine. And that just about completes this month's update, but before we finish off this month's update, I want to give pass on my best wishes to a company who I've never dealt with before and who I've not mentioned on this channel until now, and that's Shed Ring Hobbies. They used to just work online and have stalls at model railway shows, but they're very soon going to be opening their shop near Kinross, and the full details of that will be on their Facebook page, Shed Ring Hobbies. So I would certainly urge you to go and check them out, please. Well, that completes this month's update. There's 2 more videos to go from this YouTube channel this year. The first one will be at the Cupar Model Railway Club Christmas show, and then a week after that it'll be the December update, where I'll be finishing off the retaining wall on the station side, and I'll be showing you how to apply etched nameplates to a locomotive. Coming up on screen very shortly will be a link to another video, a link to the playlist that this is on, and there'll also be a button in the middle so you can go and subscribe. And I'll sincerely hope that you can do that. I'll see you next month, and please, in the meantime, whatever you're doing, do take care of yourselves, won't you, and enjoy your layouts. We'll see you soon. Cheerio.